from the very start. I said this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 years ago. This is what David Bazuki posts, right? The ones who are entering the video, if you're new to the channel, I'm sorry for my rude demeanor. I'm not usually this mad, but I'd lost my... I think something struck my nerves today. I had some great news for the past 3 days. A few bad things going on, of course, but I mean, three days of good news, overwhelming the bad news. But we had some bad news just come back right in. Like, I was 2025 doing the same exact fro. And I'm now in 2026, seeing that they're still trying to push out this AI slop type of scheme, right? And then we had this community now that greatly says it, right? I said this too. Even people have said it. Professionals have said it. For some reason, somebody like really stupid investors and producers would like to still invest in this garbage, right? People, they don't get it, right? They're just shoving it in front of people's faces and saying, "Go buy my product." That's not going to work. Which then it says, AI can affect brain areas related to creativity and imagination, opposing the platform's slogans, "What will you build?" in 2012, 2015, and "Empowering Imagination" 2015 and 2022. And in the reimagination, the way people come together, 2022, the present. I said this for 10 thrilling years. And I don't know how Dave Bazuki can still do this and still say, "Just eat what I make." I don't get it. Creekcraft has dissed it. Sharkblocks has dissed it. Think Noodles has dissed it. Even Mr. Beast has dissed it. It was a weird thing, right? Even the man himself, Mr. Beast himself, said it. And I said it. Then Brown Animations came in onto the train and said the same thing. A lot of people, even Deep Humor, said the same thing. We have Creekcraft and Flamingo saying the same exact same strat. Nobody is in agreement with all that Roblox is putting out and from their audiences. It's just disgusting, right? It's useless. It's not helping anybody. Let me be more specific. Let's be more scientific about this, right? Maybe you're not gonna care about my opinion. All right, let's take it that you don't care about my opinion. Let's talk subjectively. So this video, we're not gonna go talk wrong for a long time for this. Let's first explain, say if AI replaced people, right? All right. The AI replaces people. Not many talk about what happens after, right? They replace people. Let's say you don't care about my opinion. Let's submit to the concept of AI replacing people. Let's theoretically get him talking to this. What he doesn't care about, right? When those people are replaced, where do those people go? They have trained 5 to 10 years of their life in the job that later now doesn't exist for them to work at. Where do they go if they had put in 5 to 10 years of their experience and educational bonuses into the job that they will be replaced in? Where do they go? What type of income will those employees get if the job that they had studied for is now no longer available for them because an AI replaces them? Where are they going to get their income, their pay for their rent and their life, right? Their life expenses. Where are they gonna get the expense if an AI replaces them? Where are they gonna get it? Let's say a lot of businesses essential for people living, getting a standard entry-level job, wants to work a job, and now every one of those are gone, right? All of those opportunities either replaced by ghost jobs and just AI replacing those simple entry-level jobs, which AI can do. So for example, I'm making this theoretically. So where do those entry-level untrained employees go to? Where do they go to for income? You can't rely on a bunch of 40, 50-year-old people to give you income. For example, your parents who are probably in their 40s and 50s. Most likely 40s and 50s, unless you're a really early millennial parent and you're in your 30s and 40s, which is quite interesting because I'm already 20 years old. That should be a sign millennials have children at this point, right? Millennials would have children at this point. Millennials, not Gen Z. Gen Z could have children, but probably they're still in the newborn toddler stage, right? So this disables most adults and young adults from getting a job if the entry-level jobs are replaced by AI. Say if it theoretically does happen, right? And they pull off this awful campaign of AI slop debentures, right? And they pull off the venture. Where do those young people go to if they can't even get the skills and experience for such jobs that require higher level thinking, right? Higher level skills, further educational premise, further evolution into those fields of study. This is not this is not like a joke, right? This is real people who will need those jobs later. So if those entry-level jobs are gone, all right, somebody's gonna probably be a numbskull, right, and watch this video, probably who's 15 or 16 years old, or somebody 32 years old, and say, why don't you just get a job? Let's say an AI replaces the entry-level job. Where do you go to fucking job to get a fucking job? Shut the fuck up and do your research. Nobody fucking cares. All right, now that I got the people who don't think ahead, right, out of the way, let's get to the people who care. So, entry levels replaced, gone. AI, automated by AI. Where did the skilled laborers go? Where would the skilled laborers go? Nowhere. Nowhere. For example, let's explain this, right? Let me put down evidence, because maybe my opinion doesn't matter still. Let's talk subjectively again. So, skilled laborers, all right. Maybe unskilled labor is replaced and automated by AI. We have now skilled laborers. Skilled laborers can do things that AI can't do as much, right? They're only AIs for the simple step process, unskilled stuff, right? That can be automated, can save money for businesses if you want to think the opposite way. But where did the skilled laborers go? Say the boss is not needed. What if the boss isn't needed? Let's say the boss only goes to their PC and their computer, and they want to hire employees based on what the AI selected is the best skilled laborer they can find. What about the unskilled laborers, who are probably people who are like 18 to 16 years old, who don't have any experience in a job, who don't have experiences anywhere else, and the only jobs they can find are restaurant jobs because AI can't seemingly automate a restaurant yet, right? So only franchise restaurants have a most likely outcome to possibly automate their fast food restaurants. But we don't see that happening for local businesses. That's not going to translate to local businesses. What about the people who do programming, coding, engineering, scientific, mathematics, artistry, even architectural people who work in those fields? Where do they go when skilled labor, they dominate the forces, but now no longer anybody unskilled can enter such places? Where did they get the experience to? Right. Then you're going to say, but can't they just study? Can't they just study and get into a skilled labor job? No. You're stupid. Over 60% of people, most people in the world, can't just go and say, I'm going to go to extra education so I can have a skilled job and get paid more. Everybody goes to a school, and the rate for somebody who's getting into a skilled labor job is less than 30%. Less than 30%. That is not a high success rate. So the chances of getting something automated as an unskilled labor job is over 80%. And somebody getting into a skilled labor job where an AI cannot animate is less than 20 to 30%. That's not a good success rate. Because yeah, let's be honest, America's education system is being rotten and defunded. So if everybody around me is stupid, how the fudge will I talk to them seriously if all they do is call me names and can't listen to information because because facts are just your opinion. No, it's not. Fact is unbiased information. It is the most objective it can get. It's been tested millions of times. That is not my opinion. Unfortunately, that's how the world was. The world literally operates on people who do not go around saying that is my opinion, right? We have people to challenge these and find solutions together so that you're working like the very apartment that I'm living in was built by engineers and people who built this apartment section and this entire neighborhood area that I live in was built by engineers, robotics people, and managers and assistants and construction workers who went over there, who were literally told where to place things together and map things together. And AI can't do that yet, but they can do simple unskilled level jobs. Let's give an example. Everybody knows this about me, right? They knew that I had to go into an entry-level job just like everybody else when they start a job. For your information, where I live in Florida, if you work under 16 years old, if you're working at under 16, right, and it's an official business, you're illegally working. Sorry, that's how the world works, right? But I entered at 17. When I worked, there were no troubles. There were no troubles, right? Not at all. When I found a place, because we had a different economy then, right? Everybody continuously thinks that the economy is the same. Do your research, shut the front up, and do your research. For those who are watching this video, who are going to tell me, the economy is the same, it'll just roll itself out fine. No, it's not. Shut the front up. The economy has dropped 3 times. You know what the last time that happened? 2008. Yeah, that's a lot of fucking years ago. Ooh, insane. Before 2008, the last economy crash was in 1993. So no, the economy crashing is not a normal thing. Shut the front up and do your research. So, for those who care and are watching this video and are informed people and not just throwing gut punches with nothing balls and staring and punching at a brick wall so that you see nothing at the next side, the ones who care, who listen to me, will go, Viz, you've been saying this for years and we get it. And yes, we agree with you. Alright, great, you agree with me. So for this video, I want to put down clips from numerous professionals. Every time I talk with somebody, they call me an Indian. They call me an Indian or autistic or a maniacal Mussenfeller, right? They call me names, and I'm like, so this is their way of helping the world, right? Their way of helping the world is calling somebody names. Unfortunately, that's not how the world works, right? Calling people names didn't exactly change the world. So people who did stuff like me, right? For those who are following my channel for 8 years, which is going to be insane if you did, and there are people who have been around for years, you would have known the amount of protests that I've been a part of, the amount of I've been in literal campaigns, meetings. I did meetings, campaigns, organized protest papers and platforming. I have helped numerous small indie content creators fall into success. I've helped numerous people out of all these mental health issues. I was battling anti-vaxxers 5 years ago. And lots of things years ago. Years ago, I've been battling and debating people constantly for years on end. And even this was during when I was in school. In school, I had to put in the hours and only had 4 hours of sleep every single fucking day when I was in high school. Because I had to study my ass off so people can stop telling me these things. Right? And I even did health checks, because like, what if I'm going insane? I had to do health checks. The last health check I had was in 2023, saying I was completely fine. So if anybody wants to question, oh, he's so privileged, he has everything he wants. No, I do not. I'm a middle class worker just like you are. Most YouTubers you literally talk to most likely have a job and most likely do YouTube and a job at the same time, which is actually harder than it looks like. Which people who care about, who watch this channel will go, this has been pumping a bunch of projects left and right because he's a monster, right? He's so good at what he's doing. I make it look easy, and then people get inspired, and I even inspired numerous people, and I battled numerous companies over my time, even when I was a minor. Yes, insane, right? Historically, I have all these achievements, and yet you still have people who are just like completely bamboozled and brainwashed by this AI crap and this political red extremist Nick Fuentes garbage slop type of shit, right? So now, rather than relaxing and playing games and being relatable like everybody does, and to give their wallets to consumer companies, I have to go out of here and do a bunch of studying and then play this dumb character so people can leave me alone, so that whenever I go on my channel, I talk like a smartass, and when I'm off the channel, I can stop talking like a smartass, right? Which is why people are able to criticize me so easily, either in person or through the meetings. I remember going outside back in the day, telling people to, hey, meet me in Clearwater, Florida. And I did meetings with people, sat down with them in a room, we took out papers, and we discussed stuff. We discussed projects. That was a real thing. This was even during high school, even during middle school, I was putting in projects. And my teachers, if anybody ever, say, I know there's people who literally spy on things I do on the internet. I know there are people who do that. I'm like, thank you. Actually, thank you. You're doing a service. You're studying me and you're stalking me. Great. You have noticed that my professors and the teachers I've had, the numerous honors classes and extra elective classes and college credit classes I had to take that I passed with A's and B's. I don't need else. They would understand that I'm not exactly the worst kid that they can ever meet. I'm also the most non-violent. People who have been following the channel will have known how extremely non-violent I am, right? And I joke about that, right? Because I have all the power to be able to say the most infuriating, extreme, like, disinformation possible, right? I have all this information ahead and I can fake everything, but I can't, right? Because unfortunately, we're in a world where, in an information drought, right? I'm gonna be putting photos of this. This is gonna be insane because we're on the 8th year of this channel. This channel was run by one person, so you all know. And I have all these sites and all these people who I work with. Which, by the way, why people would constantly ask me what's their names. Why don't you go to my fucking Discord server for once, go to my pages for once, and actually look at what I do before eating and shoving disinformation in your mouth and spitting and talking for me. So yeah, I don't exactly do nothing with my life. I spent my 10 years wisely rather than going around moping around being late to class and actually doing my fucking work before even everybody else finished. And I was at the top excelling student. So no, fell off. Most autistic people and most mentally disabled people cannot do that. Literally, art is a translation of your language and your dreaming capabilities. That's what art is. That's what it is, which AI cannot do. This went into a rant about my fixation, right, on studying, which I've always been doing my entire life. Always, right? Rather than going around looking for girls and hoes, I actually study, right? Unfortunately, I didn't get to be in the role to go around with girls and hoes. If anybody wants to ask, no, I've not. I didn't get the privilege to hang around and do whatever and be like the class and do whatever. Unfortunately, no. Because if I did so, people will go around saying, oh, boo-hoo, he's a clown. Well, they can't call me a clown anymore, unfortunately. So, honest AI matter. Honest AI matter. I will wish to have a day where I finally have every single professional that I've met and make a video with them, with their faces in video, so you can see just the amount of people I've talked to. Because you would be blown away by the amount of people I've worked with. Who are, and again, not just a bunch of random nobodies on the internet. They're people with actual fan bases and platforms or industry knowledge. Real people. Yes, real people. So, because we're in a world with the internet, the hypocrites who watch TikToks and then try to debate me, right? Those are people who I debate with, right? Who are stupid, who they literally get the information off of TikTok. And remember, don't lie to yourself. TikTok is downloaded by hundreds of millions of people. Don't be a hypocrite. You definitely watch TikTok for your information. I don't. I had to look into boring papers and research papers and finance papers in order to get my information so people can stop going around spreading this information. And with it, once I have those professionals brought up on screen, I can do those videos, which people absolutely adore when I do. When I finally have them one day on this platform, and I can have them like completely do this in purpose, it would be so great to have really acknowledgeable people talk back and then continue to prove the points I've been making for years across. And in the matter of history, all I wanted for this channel, not just this channel, there's a lot of different things I'm doing at once. This channel is just a way to promote my other projects. This channel was never meant to be a gaming channel, because the gaming part is just so I can drag in people and then convert them into actual nerds, right? This place was meant to nurture people who are curious. Curiosity is what drives this channel. It is not sensationalized content. It isn't going to Walmart and throwing fireworks and getting 1 million views. I'll get arrested for doing that. People often skip the 1 day arrest, 2 day arresting. You know, I have a clean criminal record. I know people can do that. I know people do that every day. There are people who do content who do crazy things for content. And I get called a clown for studying while clown could get 1 million subscribers. Oh, this guy has clout, so he's okay. So he's my source of information because he has 1 million subscribers and does a bunch of sensationalist content. But I'm a clown for studying and doing a bunch of fact checking. Right? Crazy. right? Doesn't my opinion is valid because I don't have 1 million subscribers. One of the stupidest things I could hear is the same people who say that are the same people who hate billionaires being richer than they are the same ones complaining to the scientists doing all the research proving them wrong, right? Unfortunately, the middle class isn't the most educated class. They have this is the reason why we have to use, for example, on this channel, we have slogans that we use to inspire people to think more critically. We have to get people to think critically. That is something that this channel is based off. Is critical thinking, critical thinking, curiosity, creativity, unity. There's all sorts of things that I've done in the channel to include people in my projects. You can find albums that I've made where people helped me make those albums happen. I have over 20 albums. No, but in 5 years. No, not in 40 years. 5 years. So I don't even have 10 years and I already have 20 albums worth of like just great stuff. With those, there are people who are credited throughout these works, which Mr. David Bazooka can't do, right? He can't, every time something happens, he always credits himself and puts his name on top of it and says that he did it, which is unfortunate because I used to look up at this guy and remember, hey, I used to be a naive person just like you were, right? I used to be naive just like most people who are watching this video. So you're probably still most likely naive. So, I want you to look at this. I'm gonna show you guys my profile. This is gonna be a multitasking type of video. This is my current Roblox profile page, right? You're gonna go, it's just your profile. Alright. Absolutely right. But that's broad. Let's think deeper, right? Because most people here can't even think past 30 seconds, right? Because they watch TikToks. So let me make sure I'm going to take your attention by putting a girl on the screen so you can start paying attention and not have to look at your phone every 30 seconds. So this is my profile. It's Roblox profile. Right, that's it. That's all you have to show us. No, wrong. Alright, what do you see on the screen? And you're not going to be able to explain how it works. How is the screen able to distribute? And how is the screen able to displace itself like this in such a way? You want to know. You don't know coding or programming, so get out of here. Do your research. But if you're somebody who is like me and you want to simplify it, I used the plugin. I loaded the screen. I opened the browser. I have no ads so that I don't see ads. And now here we are. This is it. The profile has links to my channels, my other platforms. All the artwork that you see here is done by me. Those descriptions and maps are made by me. These are all my works. These are numerous works, and this is not going to stop, by the way. This is going to continuously get larger over the years that pass by. And if anybody wants more, well, great. I can show you more. So I'm gonna go over to the Bandcamp, and you're gonna all wonder, what's this Bandcamp have to do with this? Let's ask a really cheesy question, right? How many of you have ever made one album of music before? How many viewers here have made music themselves? One album, 8 songs. 8 songs, one album, simple as there. Could be 2-minute songs, 3-minute songs. That's the mainstream standard. One album, 14 or 8 songs. So, how many of you have made albums with songs where the songs are over 5 minutes long and have different chord progressions and different changes and different genre switches throughout? How many of you made an album just like that? Probably, most likely, none of you. Because you're not intelligent enough or not brave enough. Most if you go around and look for albums where they have genre switches and contemporary changes and all these things with the progressions changing all over the place and sound design going nuts, right? If you try to find an album like that has, like, let's say 1 million streams, you're not gonna find one. Most likely it's not even famous because everybody wants to digest simple songs with simple chord structures and choruses, hooks, and all these things that you know about songs that everybody basically knows. Everyone suggests us that rather than something more complex. So the same people who are hypocritical, who say that they know more, who can't even make music, try to literally educate me about how to promote my music that they don't even know how to explain themselves, which is really ironic here. So you see, these are just a few, right? They're just 11 albums, but every artwork is done by me. Every photo is done by me. Every name, everything that I produced in a song, every distribution, every revisions of such song is the same exact effort done by me, and I've done it over and over. Everybody who goes around saying, "Oh, but what if it's like 3 people, 5 people?" No, it's only me. It's affordable. It's free. Everybody can do this. Everybody can possibly do this. If you put in effort and learn the time, you'll get there. What is effort and time? Does that differ between people? Absolutely, because how it translates after is the very reason why effort and time is a thing in the phrase. When people say put the effort and time, right, in those motivational quotes you hear in those days, you hear people saying effort and time. Well, it's actually how you translate it after, with the effort and time that you put in something. You can put in effort and time in something and it'll come out horrible. Why? Because it didn't translate the way that you thought it would. Let's say, for example, people who try to educate me on how this works because they can't make music themselves. Let me tell you, they can't make music themselves, but they try to educate me on how to promote it. I know, hypocrites. For those who watch this channel, you get a laugh at me making people who are stupid, right? And I talk to them and I embarrass them because they don't know what they're talking about, right? And I have done this for years. So when you do an effort, people must think that because if you get money or wage from it, that they think that your work is credible. It's some of the most stupid and most naive people I've ever heard. No. So let's say this guy did a crypto dump and pump scheme, and he made $2 million from scamming innocent people. Is his work credible in source, like, right, as a way of promoting and making music and money and then using crypto in order to get those gains? No, he's a fucking retard and he did it illegally and it's scamming. But he has $2 million. Someone would say that's credible. No, it's not, right? That's why I'm saying there's a translation part. The translation part is supposedly the way the way that your effort goes through a medium of control. The control through your effort is quite a teller of what will happen right after. Let's give an example. The Bazuki has some of the most well-worth companies in the world called Roblox. Roblox Incorporated. But he's a very immorally inept man. He's terrible. He used to be a good man, but maybe he was just a facade. Let's do that. Let's do that. But he's worth billions and billions of dollars. Alright, we got that out of the way. But how did he make such money? He started with a good principle in the beginning and then turned it over and started screwing over his entire user base, right? And once he already has all the layouts ready in order to, when he where he wants to, he could just go, let me charge everybody $5 for this specific thing because I can, right? Because he has the power. He can just get somebody to make it happen that way. He can make it somebody operate that way, right? He can operate them just like that because he can. Oh, all it takes, just pay him $25 an hour. They'll make a algorithm that screws genius creators and puts slop content in the front of the screen. But he's worth billions of dollars, so maybe he's a smartass and knows what he's doing. No, the fuck he's not. So when you do effort and you try to value somebody with something as simple as pride, you're a stupid, retarded piece of shit. So it is effort, the control body, the medium that goes through, and the time that's displaced is the length of the control body that goes through whenever the effort goes in, like the work that I put in. We also have radiation. How you express that effort is the way you emit the work that you put in, right? While taking time to put in the work. That's the emission. You have the emission of your efforts through the control body, and then that will translate later to the product, right? A lot of things go on. When you express it, for example, David Bazuki promotes it constantly the AI slop that he wants so badly on the channel. But he's worth billions. So his control body is the company itself because it's already billions of dollars. He's not afraid of going poor over making bad decisions. He's already successful, and so he can just start doing bad decisions, which is my point about it, that effort has a start and effort has an end. When you have effort, right, starting, Dave Bazuki did a great thing for interactive physics back in 1984 or 1987. If blah 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 yada yada, everybody knows the story. He can just stop doing what he's doing and say, "Let me just screw over everybody who enlists to my service." How does he do that? By putting them in arbitration, saying that, "Oh, you made an account of Roblox. That means you signed a contract saying that you can't sue me." He did that in 2009. Everybody should know this, but most likely most of you don't do your research, so you have to hear it from me telling it to you so that you can regurgitate my information and think that you're a smartass. Alright, so once that effort hits an end and you're still emitting it, that means no effort is no longer being put in. You're just expressing the lack of effort that you have, which is why you can still be super jubilant about showing how little effort you do, and also be doing very jubilant by how much effort you do, right? You can do the same for both. That is possible. Where's an example? We can get into Aiden Ross, just so that people can, so this video has retention, right? Let's bring in Aiden Ross, super popular man. I did Dave Bazuki, I can do Aiden Ross. The man got successful, he started his effort, went successful, he was still a dumb person, but enjoyable, likable by an audience, right? And then suddenly he was like, I'm gonna do a thing. And then he screwed over his audience. And then people that are completely bastards just join him and watch his content. The guy is actually a retarded maggard, right? He's a maggard. He's a maggard. He's mentally unstable. He is stupid. He is literally intellectually unintelligent. And he is slow. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He does drugs and constantly wants the voting rights for women to disappear, along with black people. So, if that is a joke to you, I guess so. But let's talk subjectively. He still got success. Whoa, but he's a credible source of information if he suddenly has money. You're stupid. No. He did effort. He went through it. He expressed how he's doing it. Effort is done, right? He's done his effort. Now he can still literally cheer on the lack of effort he does to get millions of dollars by doing constant crypto dump and pump schemes that literally just fool a bunch of teenagers on the internet who are angsty, who think they can debate anybody because they hear Ian and Ross speak about things. He can just scam those people who are incredibly naive and stupid, and probably most likely are dropouts. Unfortunately, I have to label him that way so that people can continue watching this channel, so they can criticize me for talking about dropouts when I know numerous dropouts. And I can give an example. I can actually say her name on this channel, by the way. Militia is a school dropout. She dropped out in middle school. She dropped out at 14. Here's the difference, right? She used to be a bum. Yeah, a bum. What I mean by bum is not the inappropriate body part. I'm talking about a person who was lazy, who didn't care, who was really nonchalant, didn't want to do things, could have had the ability to do things the right way, but doesn't choose to. But one day she was like, I want to change my life around. She wanted to change her life around. And this is a real person. It's a real person. And on this channel, I talked numerous times about how I converted certain people who are awful into great people. There's still potential, which is what's so interesting about effort, because it has a start and end, meaning you can see where it started and you can see where it could possibly start again, because it ended. You can see where it could start again. Militia decided to go, and she talked to me. This militia person talked to me and said, Viz, I want to learn more. My life sucks. I can't do anything. Parents are just abusive, people are terrible, yada yada. Boring, dramatic story everybody hears about probably every day. Maybe, or not. Most people who are in this channel probably still think they know everything and still think they're probably talking inside their head calling me names. Which is why you're not going to be ever a participant in human society. Now let's go back to militia. With it, she studied with me in middle school while she was still a dropout, and then she listed back into school, which she was able to do legally, which is really crazy. They actually did it. It went through. And then she said, Viz, teach me everything that you know. And I was like, okay, sure. Then she came out, went into high school, came out with a bachelor's degree. I skipped the last steps. Absolutely. Why? Numerous depression, numerous suicide attempts later, numerous studying and numerous books and information later, she finally got through, and everything fixed. Everything regulated itself through lots of effort and time, and numerous fails and mistakes were done, but then things came out well the right way. Here we are, where people can still literally throw around this type of slack behavior and can still make profits while calling people who are doing their utmost best performances to get profits from what they're doing. For example, this channel, just like everything that I do, I put my utmost best performance in order for this stuff to perform well the way it's supposed to do. But most people often like to disqualify it without any evidence, unfortunately, because they would rather sit down and get on their knees for a TikTok influencer with 2 million followers who does slop content to a 5,380 subscriber smartass genius pioneer and mountainist and portales style inventor because of their ego, their pride, and their perception on the social attitude of the world relative to their current surroundings as of 2026. So that's disappointing. Which is why in this channel, if I don't attract numerous audiences, it's because I'm not selling my soul to get a profit so I can go around and clown around and flip my money in people's faces saying, look, I'm rich. I'm not doing that. You see that I'm not doing that. I'm not inspiring toxic behavior like Aiden does. I'm not doing crypto dump and pump schemes like Donald Trump is doing. And often I get compared to real evil people for some reason, right? For some reason, when these people do actual illegal acts that even I and people, when they argue with me, cannot see that I don't do when I debate them. In this channel, I inspire numerous people to think critically, and they say, Viz, you got a point. They even show themselves continuing their work without me telling them to continue, right? Without me paying them or telling them what to do, to continue doing their work, right? And that's insane, right? We had numerous projects on the channel where we saw beautiful things happen between community members and professionals. And it was astonishing, the things that we could do for free, no money, for free. It started at first with skepticism, but when the work got done, people started believing it and more. Unfortunately, I'm not exactly around people who understand that. We're in 2026 and restrictions, regulations, and battles and protests and legislation and court battles have went up to the highest point possible that you can record, right, in human history. And we still got losses going on. And my name is still in plaintiffs, or my name could be possibly in plaintiffs for things that companies have been doing that are trying to smother and put under the rug so people can ignore, right? They don't want the movement to be recorded. They don't want it to be covered. They don't want me to get famous. They don't want me to get rich. Why? Because they don't want intellectual people to make lives easier for the working class people, which is my huge issue with the working class people, which most likely the people watching this video are working class people. Why is the middle class working people fighting each other and not fighting the rich people, making their lives worse? For example, there are people who try to argue with me or debate me and forget that billionaires exist and go, wait, don't we hate the same people? Why are we fighting each other? I don't get it. Why? Because they're fed misinformation online. Which then, whenever somebody who is smarter comes up on Bay, let's stop putting me in the equation. Let's say somebody who is smart. Alright, Oblivious HD. He's a smart ass. Alright, what if it's not me? Let's say Oblivious HD. He's smart. But with misinformation online, he could possibly face numerous people who were stupidified on the internet by watching TikToks and getting information from TikToks and Snapchats or Reddit posts. And then they're gonna go, well, you're fake because I said so. because the viewer said so, not because Oblivious HD literally fakes things on the spot. They just, because they said so, they just assume that he fakes things, right? That's an example of somebody who is stupid and doesn't know what they're talking about, trying to criticize somebody who's been creating stuff their entire life. So that's what we're up with. Scientists being, so people who are like me, or people who are like Oblivious HD, or maybe Mr. Beast, we're constantly ridiculed, pestered, and told names, or called mental illness receptors, rather than going into rational discussions talking about why we talk this way in the first place, and not taking the fight to the actual evil people and not the people trying to fix everything for you, which, if I remember, when everybody says they don't fucking care, that means you're not permitting yourself to be a solvent to society. So get out of here and be in your place. The ones who are in society doing things to change and be participant in society, the ones who are actually doing something rather than just calling people names and gut punching and doing all these nothing burgers, the ones who got to be inept and participate in society, know what I'm talking about and go, I'm going under scrutiny, right? Those people who talk to me like this, I'm going under scrutiny for expressing my creativity. You're absolutely right, meaning you're challenging society. If you're so comfortable in doing whatever you want, then you're doing something wrong. That's unfortunately how that goes. So, we're in a dictatorship. Yes, we're in we're in a very amateur dictatorship. This is not a democracy anymore. We already considered, most people like me, along with scientists and researchers and people who do their actual job, and their jobs are based on academic preferences and not just labor heads who think they know everything. Actual smart people who do papers, the boring stuff that you won't do. I've already considered the United States a dictatorship. It is not a democracy. If anybody goes around saying you must sell your soul to get money, would they be wrong? No. You have to do absolutely awful things to get money. If you're going to do something great and permissible and completely mind-boggling and genius, most likely you're not going to get famous. That's unfortunately how it goes for most smart people who go around trying to challenge the world and bring their inventions into mainstream Broadway media. Only very little few get there. You know how little percentage of those people exist are? The ones who make it are 0.000000001% of people, which is, and that's globally, which is, let's say, very little people. That doesn't mean that everybody is going to be that successful, unfortunately. In a dictatorship, that is right. Absolutely. In a dictatorship, they don't want anybody who's smart going on top of the charts. Say, if this was more of a democracy, maybe a mountainous capital. Let's say this is a mountainous capital. People like me and anybody who's maybe, and I said maybe like me, I didn't say exactly like me. I'm not everybody's tastes. Remember that, because for some reason people who still are stupid and unknowledgeable still think that things like opinions are just tastes for some reason. Alright, so let's say maybe like me, right? Let's just not care about me for a second. Say it was a mountainous capital and people got together and you know who the smart people are, and they're like, let's put them and make them famous. Boom, they are famous. Alright, what will those smart people do? Make lives worse for people or make it better for the people? Would they make it better for themselves or worse for themselves? Guess what? You can actually do both. You can do both things. You can make life better for yourself and also life better for people. Great. That's what would happen in a actual better refined democracy or a mountainous Cicerone type of system world. We are now in a dictatorship, so I don't think that will be able to be the case, right? With it, now that I've been 45 minutes into this recording, which people, yes, happen to listen to my videos for that long, which I'm actually thankful for. People who are in their 30s and 20s who watch this channel, which I'm noticing that lots of teenagers don't watch this channel because I'm like, it kind of shows that only the ones who are very specific teenagers will watch the channel, and the ones who are in their 20s and 30s know what I'm talking about, because you kind of already lived that experience and you already starting with your life, right? You're pulling a new leaf, so you already know what I'm talking about, and you probably most likely do your research, because I actually constantly put educational content outside, yet get called a clown for doing so. I don't see how that works. I don't know, right? Somebody can be jinxy and he can say that, hey, put bleach in your blood, and everybody will say that's a factual statement. This is the type of people I'm dealing with. But back on track. I'm thankful for the people who've been watching this channel for quite a while, who sit down for 20-30 minutes of their time. 20-30 minutes of their time, which I'm absolutely astonished is my average watch time rate during these past few videos is 20-30 minutes average watch time, which is insane. That means people literally stay for longer than 30 seconds, like most TikTok watchers do is 30 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, and maybe 5 seconds, even 5 seconds. I saw 5 seconds too. But 20-30 minutes for a video, insane, right? That makes it worth me making these videos. Why? Because there's numerous videos on this channel that are like 40 plus or 1 hour plus videos, and I'm just like, dang, I got some really dedicated viewers. So if I hadn't said enough on this channel, thank you for everything. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your collaboration. Thank you for your support and your dedication. I feel like this community is full of passionate members and not just a bunch of toxic buffoons on the internet harassing everything they don't understand. There are people who, after you see something you don't understand, don't immediately harass it or threaten it with a bomb. You go around and talk to the thing you don't understand and try to understand it better. And part of this channel is to learn numerous lessons along the way as you grow as a human being in a world that is continuously getting into the drought of misinformation, where facts are considered harassment for some reason. And as I find more people, young people, let's be specific, fall into these zones, when they go into these zones of provocation and they end up in groups and they start working together, I see some really crazy, beautiful things happen. And that's some of the things that make me smile most. Is though the negativity and disinformation is out there and exists, I constantly see lots of really beautiful things happening with people starting new things and inventing new movements or generations in tech and equipment, or even foundations and companies and fundraisers for really good purposes that nobody else will be doing. To quote somebody, though Mr. Beast is not a perfect man, I can quote him, the fact that people are going out there asking for YouTubers to give them donations rather than the government is concerning. That should be a reason for concern. The most people who are economically doing more effects to other countries and third world countries by spending lots of money to support other countries is actually YouTubers doing all the lifting, the heavy lifting that the current government isn't going to be doing, helping people who are in need of help. People like me and lots of others who are in the, like, let's say millions of people joining on the train and constantly go out there to help people in need. And unfortunately, it's all the YouTubers and all these other famous content creators who are doing all the heavy lifting for the governments and all these other people that are supposed to be the ones managing society in parts and are not doing their job. And we have to go out there and do it ourselves freely, because they won't be spending the money to do so. And so the ones who are spending money will be people like me. We'll be spending all of that and helping out people, and if they don't want the help, well, that's up to them. And unfortunately, we have certain cases where people do end up die during the process. Again, there's millions of people with millions of people. The rate for somebody to die during aid or helping or promotions and donations, fundraising and foundation building, or doing great efforts to invent new technologies and many technologies and tools and all this stuff, most likely somebody will die during that. And we do have our memorials for people who didn't get to be famous while they did these things for society. And we have lots of examples of those, people who had, let's say, 10,000 subscribers, but they invented the tool that millions of people will later use 5 years later. For example, let's say in 2016, somebody like Cadet came around. Let's give an example of that. This row was one person and three guys. When she started her journey, and I can go on with Kids Net I or PewDiePie or even myself or other people who are famous, specific focuses on the Mount Rushmore of content creation as a whole, They started things that people said would be hypocritical, crazy, and nonsensical. And now they've become the very founding fathers of these very content bases and fundraisers and foundations and companies that now millions of people spend their dollars on, which is a way of saying that no matter what you do, possibly in the next 5 to 10 years, you will have people going over to your place and going and saying this or PFI or KizI, they'll say thank you. And they're gonna thank you for all the things that you've done. And unfortunately, not everybody gets to see that. We did have certain genius people unfortunately pass away during conflicts with certain events that have been involved, and unfortunately, it either be disease or just an attack in general from somebody who doesn't believe in their theories and concepts. And when they aren't believed, then trust me, everybody who I see do all of the harming and dangerous deaths deserve to actually burn in hell and repent for their misery that they caused. Now, throughout this, and it's not because of this one only thing, it's the fact there are many. Every single filling time, I go through the exact same story that I've been phrasing periodically, let's say, for years on end. The fact that they can't do it themselves, most people that I know, who are too scared to put their faces online and try to do something for themselves, the ones who I constantly know in person, or maybe online, who live in the same city I do, or something like that. Those people are most likely to not actually have their own social media pages and post to numerous people and constantly go out in the public and try to do really good sociologically beneficial things. Most likely, they don't know what they're fucking talking about. And unfortunately, whenever I ask them to, hey, can you please appear on my channel, they won't because they're scared of looking like a dumbass. So, with it, I've even went over to Ron DeSantis' office, the man himself, and I've met this guy numerous times. Same with Bernie Sanders' teams, with the No King's Day protest organizers and all these other important people. These people do important things that not many others would do, and they have to inspire people to join those movements in order to get a point across. And when everywhere I go are just people just leaving slop and all this disinformation online and all this and laughing their fellows off, I'm like, I'm glad I'm doing the thing I'm doing and not selling my soul and giving my wallet to a bunch of corporations and businesses, growing up being a drug addict and a failure and a consequential human being. So, with that said, to those who care, I love the ones who care. I love the ones who sit down and actually get to listen. The ones who are learned and educated human beings who are still left on this world. Thank you for everything. This is a great 8 years on the channel. I wish I could have done a better video. This video will probably release today or tomorrow. I got lots of things to do. I got albums released soon. Albums are releasing soon. I still have them later. I still have numerous songs I'm finishing, and I'm going to post them. By the way, you're going to have a lot of metal coming out, which I went into, and I guess people want the metal. They want the metal side of me. They want to hear like, woo, chill, crazy stuff. By the way, what you say about me is what you say about society. That's for 8 years. This is Projecttian. Maggie is my name. Blah blah blah. Yada yada. If you leave a like on the video, it will get this video anywhere else. And as I always said, stay safe there. Be kind. Protest your rights. Know your rights. Be peaceful. Don't be violent. Don't be a douchebag. Inform yourself. And I think that's all I have to say. Jubilate E. I've been at this for 8 years. Insane.